Well, finals week for us. Got back late Sunday or early Sunday morning, and playing again on Saturday. So a week off. Players were off Monday and Tuesday for Sunday and Monday for finals. Tuesday you do the individual development sessions, and then we practiced Wednesday, Thursday, tomorrow, all at 10 o'clock. So if you're juiceless, you're useless. And I thought guys have had tremendous juice at these 10 a.m. practices. Last time we played the 11 a.m. game was Memphis last year, I believe. And so kind of making guys aware about the routines and things that are necessary in order to have the right kind of mental framework that's required in order to be in a good position for Saturday. So the win at Northern Iowa helps. But you also, this is kind of earlier than what anybody's used to previously.
Going back to Saturday and the win, you guys have had the struggles away from home, and they're all kind of follow the same trend line. Was there any emphasis put in to shape that trend going into Saturday? Did it work?
No, not, I mean, it worked. I don't know necessarily that. I mean, there were plays that we had to make. I go back to the St. Mary's game, and we're down 40 seconds to go, and there's a loose ball, and we've got two of our guys versus one of their guys, and they come up with it, and we have to foul, and now all of a sudden they make both free throws. Now you're down three, and we have to call a timeout to set up a sideline OB. And the number of people who came up to me and said, "You know what? Fred VanVleet makes that play." And I mean, PJ Cousinard makes that play. And I mean, it's just a litany of guys. And I just had to remind our guys that, you know what, as Shockers, we make that play. Like there was a brand of basketball that started long before any of us ever got here. And being in a blue collar city, you make tough plays, and we hadn't. I think if you look, there were a number of tough plays, loose balls that we were able to get. But as I mentioned, playing certain games, they are DNA games. Like that, this is like, are we about this? And I just thought that, that I thought our approach was better. I thought our willingness to get to basketballs was better. Will Berg not being able to do much during the course of a game, just thought their physicality really pushed them out. And then how they were playing personnel didn't allow us necessarily to enter the ball in the way that we had been able to do in previous games. But there's a lot of times guys will check out, and he didn't. Gets an offensive rebound, and unlike the St. Mary's game, to where he gets his eyes to the rim. St. Mary's game, he grabs it and throws it out, ends up being a turnover late in the game on a possession we really need. But he converts that. So I'm just really proud of the approach that players took. But I do think that they're embracing more of what's required in order to wear this uniform.
And especially TJ too. Season and off season, you mentioned he's a leader off the court for his team. Just how can you talk about how he stepped up too on the court? Talk about there.
Yeah, told him he had a turnover. He ended up missing a layup, missed a free throw, and just called him over. People's demeanors are a little different, and how they react are a little different. And me, Drake Kendall is this way. He's a challenge guy. I'm a challenge guy. The more you tell me, somebody, Dre, that you can't do something, some people are, you got to encourage them. Just, I'm not wired that way. And so just brought him over and said, listen, we need to step up. Like you've done enough to be able to handle these moments. And right now we're not handling the moments. And to his credit, just gave him a time to really think it through and then put him back in. And I thought he was assertive. We're able to take advantage of the fact that no matter which one of our bigs, Noah gets an offensive rebound put back, but E-Man, Will, Noah, they all demand attention. Like you've got to physically check those guys, or else they can get offensive rebounds and keep basketballs alive. And then you figure in, Mike and KG's ability to shoot the ball. And so, hey, they're taking this away. We need somebody else to be assertive. And to his credit, he just goes into these push downs, and he's able to get shots right around the rim, some of them resulting in 3-point plays. But again, I thought his assertiveness, I use the term savage, and a savage means you're kind of trying to overtake something with force. I thought he played with tremendous force, and like there was force on the rim. And I thought he settled in the first half. He takes a shot that we've gone over, and we talked about it during the game, and we've gone over in film. But I didn't think he was settling, and he was assertive, and that's what we needed him to be, especially if people are just going to let us get paint touches like that on account of the other players that are on the court with him.
Are these practices more valuable because no school, they can just focus on basketball? Like, how important is this time of the year?
Extremely. Like, I mean, I spent 10 minutes just talking about that subject, about how significant. The truth is they're pros nowadays. They get paid to play basketball. And you know what? You don't have any of those other responsibilities. School, you don't have. It's such a critical time, like these 10 days, and your ability to be a pro and to handle things off the court. You don't get discipline on the court. You apply discipline on the court, but you don't get discipline off the court. You have discipline off the court, then it applies. Same way, you don't get strength on the court. You get strength in the weight room, and then you have to apply that strength on the court. So all of the things from a character perspective need to be in place because we don't have this school that we usually have to attend to. I think guys have been great in how they've attended school and handled their business there. But it really is such an important time, and we got to get a ton of time out of it because you get 3 games here in a row at home, so there's no travel involved. And then they get a Christmas break. Obviously, we only play 5 games in the month of December, so on account of Christmas break and then finals break. But you have to use this time in order to get ready for conference because it comes pretty quick.
In terms of preparing for DePaul, obviously it's a different team than what you guys saw last year in Chicago, but just what's something you guys are going to have to, do a good job of to, come out on top on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, the last team we played from Chicago, we were able to make 16 threes. They're not letting us do that. I mean, they're 12th in the country at limiting 3-point opportunities. So knowing that, we can't turn around and think the spacing is going to be similar to what it was. They fan out on personnel issues, so it's going to allow paint touches, but they do not let you post up the ball, whether it be through push downs or whether it be through entry. So they just don't let you post the ball. So all of that to say, you've got to be able to counter some of that. Like, and at the same time, you're not just, they have tremendous length, right? I mean, they start a 6'10" perimeter player. So they run you off the line at a really high rate. And if you don't handle that and able to get paint touches and move the basketball, the other thing is they're really good at moving the basketball. They're top 20 in the country at making sure they get assisted buckets. So stylistically, I think how other teams have played us, I'd say it's probably similar to Northern Iowa, but they've just got more physical pieces than Northern Iowa. And then you deal with N.J. Benson, who's proven himself in the Big East, Layden Blocker and C.J. Gunn, guys that were there a year ago. So they return a number of pieces, add guys. Don't shoot the same amount of threes that they did a year ago, but put tremendous pressure on the rim, which puts tremendous pressure on your defense.
Michael Gray seems to have played well last couple games, I guess. How has he progressed, and where do you want to see him get better over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think from a decision-making standpoint, he's got to continue to get better. I mean, we've tried to put KG in a situation to where he's demanding 2 and tried to play backside 4-on-3, and he's not. They're not letting him get catches. So I think his decision making from a cutting perspective and when the ball is in his hands perspective, I think there's been times where he's over dribbled and we've not hit short rolls and opportunities in order to get cuts. One of the things is, we use this in relationship to KG, but we were kind of using a formation to where we would get 2 on the ball and have TJ kind of make a decision. Northern Iowa game, they start taking TJ away, and then we get Will Berg the ball. And then we see a cut from Karan Boyd. The cut draws 2 people. And I think that cut along, I say this to our players, cutting his character. It's not going to show up in any stat sheet you ever see, but it's making dominoes fall. Will Berg ends up, the bank's open on Sunday night or Saturday night in Iowa and Cedar Falls, and he makes a bank shot, but it's the cut that has it. Michael's got to learn from that off the ball. Like, you're going to demand a lot of attention, but it's opening up opportunities. And so I would tell you from there, he's got to get better. But going back to your first point, if you're doing things right and you're getting the wrong result, you need to continue to do things right. I do think that's where encouragement comes in. Like, we're not going to grow weary in doing good. We're going to reap a benefit at the proper time. But I didn't want Michael to think because you had a bad 3 days in Bahamas and didn't shoot it well that all of a sudden there's trust issues. Because now all the other players begin to say, you know what? If you don't play well, all of a sudden he just does something. Now, if he was doing the wrong things, taking the wrong shots, forcing opportunities, that's different. But I think he was doing the right things, just wasn't getting the right results. Those of you who are parents understand this. You just keep encouraging your children. You know what? We're doing the right things. We're just not getting the right results. Eventually we will. So I'm glad it's paying off for him. But his on ball decision making and his off ball cutting are two things we've got to improve.
Back to the TJ Williams conversation, we talked about earlier this season, the first couple of games, about how big of a deal it was for him to give you guys quality minutes and what he did well. But to see him what he did kind of in that last game, did you expect him to be that kind of player this early in his career? Or was this kind of ahead of schedule with his development? Or was he going to be this good?
I don't really think about it, to be honest. Like, you know what? You need to be doing this by this particular date. I will say, I mentioned this to Taylor, that I thought I was just watching him grow up, like live. Like, you're watching your kid grow up and watching him make decisions and do things that are benefiting the whole. And I think he understands. I do think his ability to be set there as a red shirt, that conceptually he kind of has a better idea from a floor mapping perspective about, and you have to embrace that role. But I mean, you also have to embrace the role of doing hard things. And you know what? Recognizing in the moment that I wasn't making the plays that I need to. And you know what? You're going to give me another chance and I'll prove you right. And more importantly, I'll step up for my team. You just really believe in a kid like that. And I'm thinking about the other freshmen that I've started. I think they've all turned into All-Americans. I know Max Asmus started and was a 3-time AP All-American for us. Kevin O'Banner ended up being an All-American for us when both of those situations at Oral Roberts. So I think about, like, when you put that much trust in a freshman, we need your decision making to be good. And it's not try to go out there and win the highlight reel. Which a lot of players want to do when they're young. There's an old saying amongst college coaches that freshmen want to play, sophomores want to start, juniors want awards, but seniors want to win. We can't have you satisfied with playing. Like, you got to contribute to doing the things that are required in order to win, and I thought he did that.
In the beginning, you mentioned that your guys had that toughness, that kind of blue collar
Yeah.
that they're playing with. Is there anything else intrinsically that you're kind of challenging your guys with at this point in the season that you want to see more of, or would you just say overall?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be 8 loose balls in a game, and if it's 4-4, we haven't tilted the possession towards us or against us, right? There was a number of games this year where I can tell you, Colorado State, we were on the wrong side of that, and it's not okay. Okay, it's not okay to not bring your best. It's not okay not to show up and provide more resistance than what we specifically didn't do that game. And so I've been in games and I keep a track 118 and 0 when there are 30 deflections. And so been 30 times as an assistant during all these years. It are 118 times where we've gotten more than 30. The last game we were at 28. We haven't broke 30 yet. But I will tell you that the numbers and the metrics that we're using from how often are we physically hitting on defensive rebounding? How often are we our first two steps being assertive offensive rebounding? If you're a crasher and a get back guy, are you like doing it with some level of fervor? And then the contest rates were higher. And so the four things that we kind of pay attention to, we're making progress in that area. I can tell you the previous two teams I coached here, you could show the numbers and they're like, yeah. And I don't want to say they were that blase about it, but it wasn't like there was that commitment to like, all right, if you're 118-0 on 30 deflections and we're assuming that you're telling us the truth, like how do you actually do that? And so I think that's what we're seeing is we're starting to get closer to things that really impact winning.
More like big picture, but just like in terms of like getting crowds back at Coke Arena. I know you were around in the summer for TBT and you saw that championship. Just what do you remember about just like that feeling, like the difference from like 5,000 to I think it was 9,000 that night? Just like what do you remember about that experience? And obviously that's what you guys are working toward, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this before. You want to put a product on the court that people are attracted to, right? I mean, people spend hard-earned money in order to do this. I've referenced this before, but Truett Cathy, the owner of Chick-fil-A, CEO of Chick-fil-A, was listening to his staff one day talk about who's going to be the first to $1 billion when it was them or Boston Market, and he said we're worried about the wrong thing. He said, guys, if we'll get better, the market will demand that we get bigger. So I just want to get better. Let's find a way. If we'll get better, Wichita will show up. I think that's what TBT proved. I had all these questions like with games on, you can easily see them. They're readily available. You can go back and watch them later on demand. NIL people are not in favor of. I mean, there's a host of other issues. There's some things that there may be loyalty to other teams in the past, and this team isn't that. And you also get economic downturn. So you understand all of that. I keep track. It's actually the first thing I do is when Weston hands me the game book after, I go and plug in the attendance numbers. That's the very first thing I do when I go back to my office after a game. And I just look, where were we the fourth game last year? And not that I'm trying to use it as some kind of metric, but I do think that it is an idea about, what, people are gravitating towards something. It's not an end all be all for us. I had a very romantic view when I came to Wichita State because I had experienced what it's like to be in this building. I can remember just being in awe watching Wichita State Creighton as an assistant at Baylor. Like, I mean, look at that place. I mean, it's a line all the way around the building. I've obviously talked to previous coaches here, from Coach Marshall to Coach Turgeon to assistant coaches, and everybody just talks about the force that is involved when Wichita State is good at basketball and what it does for the city. So we understand we have a responsibility here to put, like, my job is to make sure we get better. And if we'll get better, the market will demand that we get bigger. And so we need to do a really, really good job with playing a brand of basketball that brings attention.
I'm sure you've seen like the individual, like the couples who have donated tickets back.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kevin seems like he's doing like a community first, like
Yeah.
initiatives. What do you
Yeah.
think about like that approach to trying to get people back to it?
Yeah. I mean, Shane and Kyan Prill mentioned this to me one day in the summer. And I can really, really encourage our guys, no matter how we feel, you'll see these little bitty hands that are waiting for you there at the tunnel. Like, it's our job to acknowledge people. And again, I think as you approach winning and you get chances to play for championships, and that's what we're here for, that people will show up and support. But this is something I didn't realize this when I first came here, but I mean, this is a rebuild, and there's two reasons, three primary. The primary one is I really felt called here. I really felt led by God in order to make sure that I was going to do the right thing in order to be here. But the two things that I think that really attracted me is, one, the rebuild. I love that old idea of being able to like build something. Was able to do it at Baylor, was able to do it at ORU. I'm just wired that way. I really enjoy the whole idea of trying to be an architect of something that can last and that's sustainable. And the second thing is the community. Like I saw the community support for the Shockers. I know people who don't know anything about Ron Baker other than that he had really nice hair, and he played his rear end off and was obviously loyal to the Wichita State program. And I remember when I first took the job, I had so many people, I was still in Tulsa, who had approached me and said, the only thing we know about Wichita State is they love their basketball and they know who Ron Baker is. And I was just like, wow, like to be in a community like that, like that's was very attractive to me. So I did the whole idea of a rebuild was attractive, but it really was the community support that would kind of like made this a no brainer.
With result last Saturday, first one on the road. How is it, I guess why does this go remind you of this
Yeah, I mean, the climb is uphill. Like that's the truth. Like the climb is not downhill. I tell our guys that uphill dreams require uphill habits. You can't have uphill dreams with downhill habits. So you have to do the discipline and the things that are required in order for you to accomplish whatever dreams you have. If you ever look, I don't know if any of you have ever seen those Care Factor shirts we hand out, but there's two arrows that go up. And it's a reminder that, you know what, uphill dreams require uphill habits. This is a climb uphill. This is not a climb downhill. Things do not get easier for us. So you remind players of that. So I don't think complacency is an issue. I think everybody's excited, but we all understand. I mean, I went over it today that you have to have a game for March. And there's a game for March. There are things you have to do in order to have a game for March, and we're not doing them. And so I think everything's about building, and we understand that there's a climb involved, and it's uphill and not vice versa.